What's up, guys? Welcome to MindStrong Coaches. My name is Rachel, and I'm the CEO of MindStrong Fitness, a multi-six-figure, soon-to-be seven-figure online business that I grew 400% in under 8 months. And the purpose of this content is to teach you to do the exact same thing, but in much less time. So let's get to it. I want to talk about macro calculators. And in an earlier episode, we talked about the fact that 98% of macro coaches out there are making the same mistake. And if you didn't listen to that episode or watch that video yet, go back and check it out, because the mistake they're making, spoiler alert, the mistake they're making is they're giving their clients what should be goal numbers. They're saying they're using a formula, or at worst, they're using a macro calculator, as we're going to talk about today. And they're handing those numbers to their clients saying, here you go, here's your macro plan, get to it. And this is why when you talk to the vast majority of people about macros, you'll hear things like, yeah, I tried macros and they were too hard, or I couldn't stick with it, or it wasn't sustainable for me. And as we talked about in depth in that episode, that's not the client's fault. To be blunt, that's your fault. Because the reality is, your clients cannot jump from the way they're typically eating to these goal numbers and be expected to stick with it. This is why in my company, in MindStrong Fitness, we use what's called the bridge. We always meet them closer to their starting place, and with time, we work toward those goal numbers. Now, we talked about, to get those goal numbers, at best, coaches are using a macro formula, and there's nothing wrong with macro formulas. We use macro formulas, but again, we use them as goal numbers, not as starting place numbers. At worst, and this is what we're going to dive into today, at worst, what they're doing is they're going online and they're using these macro calculators. And I mean this from the bottom of my soul without intending to piss anyone off. This is my truth. If you are calling yourself a macro coach and the way you're doing macro coaching is to use an online calculator, please stop. It doesn't mean you have to give up your business, but put a pause on your business, learn how to do this correctly, and then go back to it. Okay. It doesn't mean you're done for good, but you are hurting your clients more than you're helping them by using these online calculators. And this is not about any one online calculator. This is about all of them, because when done correctly, macros are way too personal for any calculator out there to pump out a formula for you. So I want to tell you a little personal story about, I did this for fun years ago, and I screenshotted it. And every single thing I do that's macro related within MindStrong, I always show these examples. So one day, as an experiment, I Googled free macro calculator, and I picked 3 companies that I recognized, that were familiar to me and that were reputable in other ways. Some of these companies I use for different things, like tracking my food or finding recipes, but I do not use their online calculators except for this day as an experiment. So I handpicked 3 different online macro calculators. In each of those calculators, I put in the exact same information: my height, my weight, my activity level, my goals, what my current training level looked like. All of it was exactly the same. Now, one calculator came out and told me that I should be eating under 1,200 calories a day. I think it was like 1145. For the way that I train currently, my current lifting routine, I would literally wind up in a hospital if I ate under 1,200 calories a day. That is not hyperbole. That is not an exaggeration. I would be in the hospital if I ate under 1,200 calories a day and trained the way that I train. That is dangerous. Okay, calculator 2 told me that I should be eating over 1,800 calories a day. I think it was 1,850 was the number it pumped out. For me, because I'm doing this for a long time and I know my personal numbers, I know that at that point, when I start breaking to 1,800, I'm going into what we call a bulk, which, as a coach, when you get into the world of macros, you'll know what that means. If you've been doing this a while, you already know what it means. In short, it means that I'm putting on weight at that point. So think about this. Thankfully, I live and breathe this stuff, right? This was an experiment to me. So when I saw 1,850, I could pause and say, wait a second, that is not right. Because if I put that my goal is to lose weight, what I'm going to actually do is start gaining at that point. But can you imagine being a client who just sacrificed money and time and effort? They are putting in so much effort trying to learn this new skill. Because if you think back to when you first learned about macros, and maybe you're just learning about them now, but learning macros is a new skill. It takes time and energy and money in their case if they're investing in you. And what if they put in all this time, energy, and money, and on the other side of it, they wind up gaining weight? That is one of the most horrible experiences you can put a client through, because now not only have you wasted their time, energy, and money, but you have now scarred them for life. There's no world in which they're going back to macro tracking unless they find a new coach who can show them on paper why that happened and why, again, to put it bluntly, it was your fault and not theirs. Now, the third calculator I used was the closest, but it was still not good. It told me I should be eating 1,445 calories a day. At 1,445 calories a day, I would not be in the hospital, but I would not be feeling good. Like maybe I would dip that low during a cut, but even that is rare. That is very low for my activity level, for my metabolism, for my lifestyle. So what I do is when I'm actually teaching clients about macros inside MindStrong Fitness is I put all three of these. We have a slide that has all three of these on a page, and I walk them through this and I show them because I'm a very why person, right? Don't do as I say, understand why. Be that annoying kid that says, but why, but why, but why? Don't just not use an online calculator because you, as their coach, is telling them that. Explain to them, show them. I encourage people if we're doing a live and I'm pulling up the screen, I'll say to them, I'm going to show you exactly what happened in my experience. And when we're done with today's live, I encourage you, go open up 3 other tabs, go Google online macro calculator and try 3 of them. And what you're going to find is that you're more confused when you started than when you started. Right. And as a coach, you may have heard this before. I've had so many people who come to us and say, I understand why macros are the most sustainable approach to nutrition, but I'm so confused because when I use these calculators, I get anything from 1,200 to 1,800 calories. And of course, it's confusing because to put it bluntly, it's not correct. So the point of today is to get you to understand, if you've never done this before, I encourage you to do it because one of the strongest ways to teach something is to have experienced it. When you can say to your clients, yeah, not only are they not right, but here's why, here's what my data showed. You can then explain to them why they shouldn't be using it and they can see it firsthand. Then secondly, your job as a coach, again, if you're using those, stop, like not wean off, like hard stop right now. Stop using online macro calculators for all the reasons we just talked about. We have links below to our MindStrong Macro School that can get you started with macros. Go back, listen to the earlier episode where we talked about even these formulas to be used as goal numbers, not as starting numbers. But one of the biggest disservices that you're going to do for your clients and for yourself is using these online calculators. Get away from them and you'll watch your business start to explode.